This episode is sponsored by our friends over at Keeps. What were my 3 least favorite watches that were released this year? I'll tell you towards the end of this episode, but one I genuinely hate, the other I think was so close but no cigar, and the third I think was a tremendous misallocation of resources. So Watches and Wonders negative talk is coming, again, towards the end, but we've got a bunch of other questions that I'm going to be answering today, from my favorite watches to the Moonswatch disaster with Snoopy, my God, to the Rolex Hulk and so many other things, even some fashion conversations. So stay tuned for today's episode. Sammy is going to be the one asking the questions, so let's get into it. Sammy boy.
First one, best 3 watches from Watches and Wonders.
I've talked a little bit about this, but to be super concise, I think that Pattek's 5164G was perfect. It's an Aquanaut in white gold with this beautiful blue dial, travel time. I think it's perfect. I think it's a lot of money, of course, but I think it's a great watch. I think it's the best Aquanaut they've ever released, which is pretty cool because the Aquanaut was released originally in 1997, and I think it's pretty neat to think that the watch is, 27 years old and just finally, I think, coming into its best stride. I think that's pretty neat, right? We don't really see that with a lot of other brands and a lot of other models. Kind of the best days are often behind a lot of brands, and they're just trying to, remake them exactly. And I think that this Aquanaut Travel and this Perfect Blue is great. I'd also like to give some credit to a brand that I don't often give credit to at all, and that's Chopard. This will be the first time that I'm talking about this. I think that Chopard has 3 massive wins at this year's Watches and Wonders. The Quattro Spirit 25, this beautiful, jump hour with this center minute hand, fantastic watch, great complication. Reminds me of vintage Patek Philippe, very elegant, definitely a complication, but like a real gentleman's complication. Black on black, white gold, limited production, sure, but still great. This is under their LUC collection, which is their elevated collection. But at $55,000, a lot of money, but I don't think it's unfair, really. I don't think that the premium for that over a regular Calatrava is unjustified. Talking about $20,000 premium, relatively $25,000 premium, and I think it's pretty fair. 40 millimeters, great proportions, perfect watch. I also think that their steel dress model, the XPS, flawless, around $11,000, perfect green dial, beautiful hands, case size, everything. The dial configuration, fantastic, and 11 grand. And I think that Chopard understands with this watch, or is demonstrating with this watch, that they understand that there's a point to manufacturing a watch in steel, and they're not losing it. The point of manufacturing a watch in steel is to be able to offer a great watch at a more affordable price point. That's the point. And I think a lot of brands forget about that. They've tried to elevate steel to be like this, precious metal, this metal that we chase after and spend a lot of money on. That's not really the point. The point is, can't afford it in white gold? Well, we made it for you in steel, and the people are supposed to rush in. It's an attempt to democratize great watchmaking. They get that here. It's amazing. I think they did a great job. I think it's dead on the money. And I think it's one of the best time-only LUC Chopard ever done. Last, this new Alpine Eagle is, in my view, by far the best Alpine Eagle they've ever manufactured. I am a serious, critic of the Alpine Eagle. I didn't really like it when it was released back in 2017 or I think 2017, 2019, something like that. I didn't like it then. I still don't really like it. I think that it's, I think it's a little bit lazy. I think that it's way too derivative of greater watches. And I think that it falls short, right? The movements are great. The dials are great. But I don't think the bracelets taper enough. I think it's kind of awkward. I'm not a huge Alpine Eagle fan. I like their pricing strategy. I just think that the watch needs to be made better. Right? The Patteks are obviously better. The APs are obviously better, and in ways that Chopard could easily close the gap. It would be different if we're talking about movement and things like that and finishing. No, we're just talking about like the shape of your links, man. That's it. And I think they could have did a better job. But here with titanium, flawless, right? A little bit larger, 41 millimeters, skeleton. Everyone knows I'm a partial to skeleton. I love these watches, but this is just really well executed and ultra thin. The regular is 9.7 millimeters, the regular Alpine Eagle, and this Alpine Eagle is 8 millimeters. And it's titanium. It's a fantastic watch. Chopard blew it out of the water. I'm incredibly, incredibly impressed by this watch, and no one's really talking about it, but I'm incredibly impressed by this watch. One more thing before we move on. This is the watch they should have released the Alpine Eagle with years ago. They should have, put their manhood on the table and said, we're not fooling around. We're not just stealing the Nautilus. We're not just going to, rip off other brands. We're our own brand. Yes, clearly our watches are, have been designed in the wake of Genta's brilliance. Sure. But we are standing on our own 2 feet. They didn't do that. They just made it cheap. They just made cheap Nautiluses or cheap APs, just like Piaget. Same thing. Cheap. Bad theory, bad everything. They should have done this first. And then I think we would have been more open to seeing the more affordable models come in later that we knew weren't going to be as good. This is phenomenal. Phenomenal watch. Next question.
Thoughts on the new Moon Swatch Snoopy?
I don't care at all. I really don't care. I couldn't care less. Whatever. I think it's a shame. I guess now I do care because I'll talk about it. I think it's a shame the way that Omega has handled this, or the way that Swatch, I think actually, Swatch is the one in control of this. Omega, from what I understand, has no say in the matter. I think it's just really bad. They've shown no restraint with the Moon Swatch. I've talked about this before. It was such a great idea in the beginning, and there have been too many iterations that it's become so boring. And they're just blinded by the money, right? I think that it's become such a cash cow that they can't help themselves. But to me, that is, and again, they're the billionaires, so the joke's on me. Obviously, I'm wrong. But the way I've always looked at it was, the short-term money game was the behavior of the folks that aren't in power, right? The folks that aren't, right? The poor folks are the ones that are forced to take the money now because they need the money. And they're excited by it. And sometimes they make decisions that compromise their brand and their brand integrity. Whereas the rich folks, the conglomerate owners, the mega billionaires, the centibillionaires, they understand and can afford to hold out and preserve brand value. There's the old rumor that Louis Vuitton burns their bags before they put them on sale. They'll just destroy them, right? Any unsold inventory, when a model is discontinued, they're just going to burn it. They're just going to get rid of it, So Swatch is doing the opposite. So I think what was once cool has now become cheapening. I think that's a real shame. And I actually like the Snoopy. I think it's actually one of the cooler Moon Swatches, but still at this point, screwed.
So you hate the Moon Swatch. Do affordable watches ever excite you?
I'll turn this question into a really big compliment to Worn and Wound. Worn and Wound is an online watch publication that I've never been a fan of like the page, because I don't really read about microbrands and about affordable watches. I don't. My interests clearly lie in expensive watches, right? But that's not representative of the masses per se. I think that it's amazing that Worn and Wound has really never wavered. They've been like the go-to authority, like the go-to community and authority for, cool, smaller brands doing really, really interesting things. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone on their website and found, how about this? Anytime anyone ever asked me, this is true, Worn and Wound's not paying me to do this, but this is true. Anytime anyone's ever asked me, hey, I'm looking to, buy a graduation watch for my son or for myself or whatever, what do you recommend? And I'm like, what's your price point? And they always say, like with a kind of a high pitch, and then they say a number, and the real number is actually much lower than what they just said, right? Because that's how everyone is. You don't want to sound cheap, but like you'd love to spend less than your top budget. And I'm always like, oh, you know where you should go? Go over to Worn and Wound and explore these couple of articles that I'm going to send you. These are really neat micro brands doing really awesome things under $1,000, right? Worn and Wound is how I found out about a lot of brands. I have a Vaer on the table. That's absolutely one of them. They did an amazing article on Vaer, a little while ago. The photography was beautiful. The story was beautiful. We'll link it down below. Worn and Wound has always given credit and given a spotlight to smaller brands that work rather hard for your money. And Theo and Harris has never really been a hub for that. Theo and Harris has always been, me being to varying degrees of, angry, critical of the watch industry, particularly the luxury watch industry. And we definitely have a voice and a perspective, but so does Worn and Wound. And they always have, and I really admire it. And anyway, I try to integrate some more affordable watches on the channel more now than ever because, Sam's with the company and Sam's interests primarily lie in affordable watches. because we have just always been fascinated by value. I got into watches through Vintage Omegas. So when we're looking at smaller brands, a brand like Vaer, and looking at this Dirty Dozen, they make it in 36 and they make it in 40. I chose the one in 36 because Sam and I wanted to play around and see, I don't know, it's under $1,000, but is it any good? Are these watches good? Right? That was always my hesitation with microbrands. I've purchased microbrands, and I'm not going to shout anybody out or kind of on anybody. I purchased a microbrand a couple years ago, and I was so excited to get it, and the quality was crap. Like the PVD was it was ugly. It looked bad. It was just bad. And I've always been skeptical of the space. But anyway, there are folks that have always protected that space and advocated for it. And anyway, cheers to Worn & Wound. Cheers to Vaer. Big fan of both companies. And that's it. So, yeah. Before we get into the next question, which I believe is about one of my favorite Rolexes that I just have never actually broke down and purchased, a quick message from our sponsor. Keeps. Keeps is an easy, private, and custom online subscription service that makes it efficient and more affordable for men to treat their male pattern baldness from the comfort of their home. With Keeps, you'll get clinically proven treatments that address hair loss and encourage hair regrowth, delivered discreetly in packaging right to your door. Doesn't get more convenient than that. And the system, the Keeps recommendation, is totally custom. All you need to do is complete an online consultation to get matched with a treatment plan by a licensed medical provider, and the plan is entirely tailored to meet your exact concerns. Keeps offers both of the FDA-approved hair loss treatment options, as well as a 2-in-1 gel that actually combines both treatments. That's why Keeps has over 5,000 five-star reviews after treating nearly 1 million men that were experiencing male pattern baldness. Plus, you can adjust, pause, or cancel your plan anytime. So head on over and join those 1 million men that have addressed their hair loss directly with Keeps. Remember, hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer and to get started, go to keeps.com/Theo Harris. That's keeps.com/TheoHarris. Head on over to Keeps. All right, back into the Rolex.
You love green, you love Rolex. Why'd you never buy a Hulk?
So when Hulks were affordable, relatively speaking, to the Rolex world, I didn't have any money, right? So I remember, a friend Brian looking to get a Hulk when they were like $7,500, $8,000. And, he didn't get one then, and now he certainly won't buy one at 15 or 16, but they went up to like 21. During the height of COVID, I almost bought into the hype, and I almost bought one. A friend of mine told me to just pull the trigger and move on. Listen, I'll never not love the Hulk. I love the Hulk. It's a green Rolex sports model. It's a great watch. And I love the case. I love the super case, right? I love the ceramic bezel. I love everything about the Hulk. Scotty Scheffler just wore it when he held the trophy at the Masters. Looked amazing, especially with the green jacket. But regardless, it just looks awesome. It's a great watch. I think it's the best Submariner. I think it is among the greatest Submariners ever made. And sorry to say it, I think that most of the greatest Submariners ever made, in my view, are relatively speaking new. I would go like Smurf, right? White, gold, blue. I would go Hulk, stainless steel. I would go back to the 1688, right? The first yellow gold, matte nipple dial Submariners. And then I would go back to no crown guards, big crown, stuff like that. But I just listed 4 watches and 2 are very modern, right? So I'm a vintage guy, but I really appreciate these cases. I love them. The one thing I'll say is I'm glad I don't have one because the GMT really means a lot more to me. The color green means a lot to me. It's my favorite color. It's the thing between my mom and I. But the connection I have with my dad over my GMT is far greater than my connection with the color green. And I can go get another green watch for much less money, I'm sure, at some point, and scratch that itch elsewhere. I'm not the kind of guy to have 2 Rolex sports models. I'm just not. It's just not me. I don't need a Submariner and a GMT. I'm wearing a Datejust right now. I wear much smaller, watches regularly.
One pair of dress shoes for the rest of your life. What are they?
So, obviously it makes you, think decisively, and, you have to pick something that's versatile. Alden 986s have always been my favorite, most versatile shoe. That you can beat them up. They take a hell of a licking. Cordovan, I think, is harder to maintain than calf. I think it's kind of annoying. But that Cordovan color, that burgundy, is so versatile. They're chunky. They're American. They look great. The vamp is just the right length. People collect them in different colors. I only have one pair, but I will always have a pair of those shoes. Always. They're just fantastic. They go with everything. I'm wearing my Gucci Horsebits. If anyone remembers that video that Anna and I made all those years ago, I'm wearing my Gucci Horsebits right now today. But the Aldens I would definitely get more use out of the Aldens if I could only use one. Same thing with Belgians. Can't wear Belgians in the rain, so I'm already out, right? You can't choose those.
Next question. One pair of sneakers for the rest of your life. What are you wearing?
I only really wear one pair of sneakers with versatility, and it's the Vans Authentic. That's it. I mean, I have a couple pairs of like Adidas that I love to wear, but I would never like wear them with jeans or, out to dinner. I wear them in the morning if I'm running errands. Vans Authentic, they're my favorite. White, very John F. Kennedy vibes, very trad. Every year I buy, like before spring, I buy at least 3 pairs, at least 3. And I just wear them all summer, and I love them. And the pair that takes the biggest beating, which is always by accident, the pair that takes the biggest beating ends up being the shoes that I wear when my family does the big tomato celebration when we do the sauce on Labor Day weekend. So then that pair that took the biggest beating now gets completely demolished and murdered, and now they're my sauce shoes. So I'm a big Vans Authentic guy in white.
Where do you get your bracelets from?
I wear more bracelets in the summer than I do in the winter. I don't really wear bracelets in the winter. People give them to me sometimes because they know that I like them. A buddy gave me a couple of these bracelets. I've been wearing these like nylon bracelets for a while. I only ever really wear like one expensive bracelet at a time because I think that too much of a stack is a little much. But right now I'm wearing the Cartier Juste un Clou, designed by famed jewelry designer Aldo Ciapullo, who I think had a lot in common with Gerald Genta in a similar era, actually before Genta. They were both contemplating like what does the intersection of luxury with industrial design look like, and they were asking that question at the same time. I'm really into. There's a sneaker company called Blue Scarpa that they do jewelry now, like their own jewelry collection now. And they actually London Jewelers, our authorized dealer partner, manufactured the jewelry collection, and I think it's incredibly cool. I'm absolutely picking them up. Like soon, I'm probably gonna order 2 bracelets. They have like this. They're stone, right? So there's like a lapis one, and then there's a turquoise one, and they're both beautiful. White gold, yellow gold. I think they're really good price points, like $1,000, which again is a lot of money, of course. But if we're in the watch world, $1,000 for like a really great piece is not insane, right? That's on the approachable side of the spectrum. I could just, I can't wait to have those bracelets and like wear them, like to hang out by the ocean, and they're very summery, right? Especially the star one, it's a little bit much maybe, I don't know, but I love it. I love it. I can't wait to like wear it, on the Amalfi Coast and like, have a couple of cocktails and, jump off a rock or something like that and into the water. Something I would never do dead sober, but after a little bit of grappa, it's just fine. But yeah, London Jewelers is a great jewelry designer. Obviously, their focus is like most jewelry companies, far more on women. Their women's collection is expansive. I think their store in Manhasset is like. It's like 20,000 square feet or something of diamonds and jewelry and watches. It's insane. They have like every watch brand you can imagine and a full, diamond department for engagement rings and stuff like that. There's one much closer to me in Short Hills, New Jersey, the Short Hills Mall. Great mall for watch shopping as well. London's got a Patek there. They've got a Tudor there. They've got a Panerai there as well. But their hub there, right on the second floor, right across from Brunello Cucinelli, it's a haven for like Patek and for jewelry. Like it is a haven. The men's stuff is in the back, but the whole journey with diamonds is really interesting. You definitely need a trusted jeweler, right? Because when you're talking about watch brands, there's a lot of research you can do online, and you're buying from an authorized dealer. When it comes to diamonds, there's just so much crap out there that you just don't understand. You just don't understand it. So you need someone there that can escort you through this, through the price points as well. You need someone. Otherwise, you're pretty much dead in the water. Right? Even if you buy a great Tudor brand new from a shitty dealer, it's still like it sucks. You shouldn't do that. But if you do it, it's still a real Tudor, right? If you don't, when it comes to diamonds, if you don't have that trust between you and your jeweler, no good. And I've had a couple of buddies that, have gone elsewhere. 5 years ago, I had a buddy that used his diamond guy, and he got really burnt, and he found out like 2 years later. It just happens. But anyway, London Jewelers.
Worst watches of Watches and Wonders.
So I think that I have 3 watches here, and 2 of them are Cartier, which is a shame, which isn't a surprise in many ways because Cartier is one of my favorite brands, and you are always most critical of your. It's like the prodigal son, right? I mean, it's kind of well, it's actually the opposite of the prodigal son. Actually, the opposite. I'm sorry. That doesn't make any sense. The prodigal son was accepted back immediately, and the other son is the one that was upset because wrong, wrong. But I still know my history. But the point is, people are often hard on the folks that they love the most. They hold them to a higher standard, right? And Cartier, I think, had a bad year. I think that their rewind is stupid. I think their rewind is the equivalent of, it's a bad, like a thought that, not to say that people in high school don't have good thoughts sometimes, but, like if you think back to your own personal experience when you were in high school and you thought you had a really like insightful and, understanding of a concept like love or like time, and it's like maybe you said it out loud and in retrospect, that's embarrassing. I always wrote. I was always writing. So I know I wrote a lot of bad poems. Like, you know what I mean? Like about a bad pieces of prose, and everyone said stupid shit. But it feels like a high schooler, conceived the Cartier rewind. He's like, man, time is the one thing like you can't own, and it can never go backwards, but like with human intervention, maybe we can go backwards, but even if we make it go backwards, we're still moving forwards, man. Stupid, it's stupid. I also don't like the red, so, it's a lose-lose for me. It's just a dumb watch. It's a dumb watch from a brand that is often very vapid. It's the truth. That's just true. Cartier's playing the best hits of the brand, and then when they invent something new, it's mediocre, right? I also think their Tortue, the movement is amazing. God bless them. They did a great job. Very not easy to do, totally original. That's great. I do think and this is a matter of taste, I do think they reissued the wrong dial. The original, or the collection privé, the first collection privé Tortue with the blue font was the best style in my view. I'm sure that someone that understands design could explain to you why I'm correct or incorrect, but I do think that there's an explanation why I think that one dial is more balanced and appealing than the other. I do think it looks better in yellow than it does in platinum. I think in platinum the dial is actually rather ugly. I think it's bad. My one thing with the Tortue, for those of you who want to talk about history for a second, is the original Tortues were far flatter. They were the shape of a turtle, a tortue, tortuga in Espanol, but they did not have the dome like the modern ones do. So they wore very, very differently. They were flatter, much thinner. So it does change the watch. It's a different design, really, in many ways. It's a different design. So I prefer the original Tortues head and shoulders over the modern Tortues. Even the collection privé Tortues, which I love, I still like the vintage ones better. I love that flat, thin profile. Anyway, I don't love that watch. And then the other watch that I think was just a total dud was the Bulgari, the world's thinnest Octo Finissimo. No one cares. I just don't think anyone cares. I don't think anyone's going to go out and buy a Bulgari because of that. I think that I made a whole video about this. You can go and watch it. But I think that Bulgari has bigger fish to fry, and they have more important, matters at hand. And this didn't matter, and it took away resources from larger, more important issues. So I just don't care about that. I don't think it moved Bulgari any further forward. So today I'm wearing this beautiful Datejust, my first watch, and I'm wearing it on our elk strap. It is not made of elk. It is made of alligator. I don't know why I named it the elk, because I don't know. I'm an idiot. But they're beautiful. It's a beautiful strap, beautiful watch. I love this pairing. I'm going to post a photo on Instagram right now, actually, so everyone can go and see it. But if you haven't already tried a Theo and Harrow strap for yourself, go ahead and do. Literally thousands of people have ordered, and our reviews are amazing. People love our straps. They're handmade all over the world. These are handmade in Italy, actually, right outside of Bologna. So go ahead and take a look. Again, we're a family business. We're a family retail business. Anytime you buy anything, my mom is the one that packs everything up and ships it to you, right? We're the ones that pick out the skins for the leather, right, together. It's a really beautiful thing, and this wouldn't be possible without you guys. So thank you all so much for your support, both in watching and in shopping. Always eternally grateful. So that's it. Get on out of here. Yeah, that's it. Get on out of here. go take a look at the Zero. Go sign up for the Zero for more podcasts and everything. But that's it.